Every morning, millions of seniors wake up, and the first thing they feel is their legs. The stiffness in the knees that needs a minute to loosen before they can stand. The ache in the hips that announces itself before they have even put their feet on the floor. The quiet worry that has been growing for years that the legs that have carried them through an entire life are slowly, irreversibly becoming less reliable. What most seniors do not know, and what the research has been making increasingly clear, is that arthritis in the legs is not simply something that happens to you with age. It is largely something that happens to you based on what you eat, and the window to influence that process through the foods you put on your breakfast plate every single morning is wider, more powerful, and more scientifically documented than most people have ever been told. Today I am going to show you exactly what to eat every morning if you are a senior who wants to naturally prevent arthritis from developing or progressing in your legs. We are going to talk about the specific foods that protect knee cartilage, reduce the inflammatory load on hip and knee joints, support the synovial fluid that cushions leg joints, and feed the collagen matrix that holds those joints together. Foods that are available at every grocery store in America. Foods that cost pennies per serving. Foods that, eaten consistently every morning, create the biochemical environment in which leg arthritis is most effectively resisted. This is not about treating arthritis pain you already have, though many of these foods help with that too. This is about prevention. About building the biological protection that makes arthritis less likely to develop in your knees and hips, or less severe if it does. About using your morning meal as a deliberate act of natural joint protection that compounds in its benefit every single day you practice it. Before we get into the specific foods, if you are serious about protecting your joint health naturally as a senior, subscribe to this channel right now. Every week we publish evidence-based health content specifically designed for adults over 50 and 60 who want real, science-backed answers about their bodies. Hit subscribe so you never miss a video that could make a real difference to how you feel and move. Now let us talk about why the legs, and specifically the knees and hips, are the joints most vulnerable to arthritis as we age, and what that vulnerability tells us about the dietary protection that is most relevant. The leg joints bear more mechanical load than any other joints in the body. Every step you take loads your knee joint with approximately 1.5 to 3 times your body weight. Over decades of walking, standing, and climbing stairs, the cartilage of these joints absorbs an extraordinary cumulative mechanical stress. Cartilage, the specialized connective tissue that covers the ends of bones in joints, providing a smooth, low-friction gliding surface and absorbing compressive forces, has no blood supply of its own. It receives all of its nutrients and removes all of its waste products through the diffusion of fluid from the synovial fluid that fills the joint space. This dependency on diffusion rather than direct circulation makes cartilage uniquely vulnerable to nutritional deficiencies, dehydration, and the inflammatory environment that poor diet and inadequate movement create. Cartilage cells called chondrocytes are responsible for maintaining the collagen and proteoglycan matrix that gives cartilage its mechanical properties. When the chondrocytes are well nourished, when the inflammatory signals reaching them are low, and when the precursor nutrients they need to rebuild the cartilage matrix are available, they maintain the cartilage effectively, and osteoarthritis is slowed or prevented. When chondrocytes are starved of key nutrients, exposed to sustained inflammatory cytokine signaling, or deprived of the collagen precursors they need, the cartilage degrades faster than it can be repaired and osteoarthritis progresses. The morning meal sets the metabolic and inflammatory tone for the entire day. It determines the initial levels of inflammatory cytokines in the bloodstream, the availability of collagen precursor amino acids for cartilage repair, the antioxidant capacity of the synovial fluid, and the concentration of the specific bioactive compounds that directly modulate chondrocyte function. For seniors specifically, the morning meal is the highest leverage nutritional opportunity of the day for joint protection. The first food to eat every morning for natural arthritis prevention in the legs is eggs, specifically whole eggs, providing the complete amino acid profile that chondrocytes need to synthesize the collagen and proteoglycans of the cartilage matrix. Cartilage is composed primarily of type I collagen, a protein made from the amino acids glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, and the proteoglycan agrecan, which requires the sulfur-containing amino acids cysteine and methionine for its synthesis. Eggs provide all of these amino acids in a highly bioavailable form, alongside the leucine that stimulates anabolic signaling in connective tissue cells. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that higher dietary protein intake in older adults was independently associated with a lower risk of osteoarthritis progression, with the effect attributed to the provision of the amino acid substrates required for cartilage matrix maintenance. For seniors in whom muscle protein synthesis is less efficient due to age-related sarcopenia, 2-3 whole eggs at breakfast provide the protein stimulus and the specific amino acid profile that chondrocyte matrix synthesis requires, in a form that is among the most affordable and most accessible in the entire food supply. The second morning food for natural leg arthritis prevention is fatty fish at least 2-3 mornings per week, whether as smoked salmon, canned sardines on whole grain toast, or a small portion of leftover salmon whose EPA and DHA omega-3 fatty acid content produces potent anti-inflammatory effects specifically relevant to joint health. When the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in the diet is balanced through regular consumption of EPA and DHA, the synovial membrane produces less inflammatory prostaglandins and more of the pro-resolving mediators that maintain joint homeostasis. This anti-inflammatory synovial environment directly protects the chondrocytes from the cytokine-mediated degradation that drives osteoarthritis progression in seniors. A meta-analysis published in the journal Annals of the Rheumatic Diseases found that higher dietary omega-3 intake was associated with a significantly lower risk of knee osteoarthritis development in middle age and older adults, with the protective effect most pronounced in those with the highest dietary omega-6 to omega-3 imbalance at baseline. The third morning food is berries, specifically the darkest, most deeply pigmented varieties: blueberries, blackberries, tart cherries, and purple grapes, consumed fresh, frozen, or as an unsweetened concentrate with breakfast. The anthocyanins and other polyphenols in dark berries are among the most potent natural inhibitors of the NF-κB signaling pathway, the master inflammatory switch that, when chronically activated by a pro-inflammatory diet, produces the sustained synovial inflammation that drives cartilage destruction in osteoarthritis. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition found that regular blueberry consumption significantly reduced circulating levels of the inflammatory cytokines interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha in older adults, the same cytokines that directly damage chondrocytes and degrade cartilage matrix in arthritic leg joints. For seniors, berries provide a morning antioxidant surge that neutralizes the reactive oxygen species that accumulate in joint tissue overnight. A half cup to 1 cup of mixed dark berries, fresh or frozen, added to yogurt, oatmeal, or consumed as a smoothie component provides the anthocyanin dose associated with meaningful anti-inflammatory effects. The fourth morning food for natural arthritis prevention in the legs is oatmeal, specifically steel-cut or rolled oats, whose beta-glucan fiber content provides a specific benefit to leg joint health through its effects on the systemic inflammatory markers that predict arthritis progression. Beta-glucan is a soluble fiber that reduces the post-meal glucose spike that, when chronically elevated, promotes the formation of advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which accumulate in cartilage collagen and make it stiffer, more brittle, and more vulnerable to mechanical damage. The glucose-stabilizing effect of morning oatmeal is therefore a direct contribution to cartilage protection that goes beyond general metabolic benefits. A bowl of steel-cut oats at breakfast, topped with dark berries and a tablespoon of ground flaxseed, provides the beta-glucan fiber for glucose and inflammation modulation, the anthocyanins for NF-κB suppression, and the ALA omega-3 from flaxseed for additional anti-inflammatory contribution, a combination that addresses 3 distinct mechanisms of joint protection in a single breakfast bowl. Here is a moment to pause and check in with you. Are you a senior who has been experiencing early signs of leg joint stiffness or discomfort and wondering whether diet can actually make a difference? Drop a comment below right now and tell us what your morning routine currently looks like. We read every single comment, and your experience helps us understand exactly what this community needs. The fifth morning food is plain Greek yogurt, providing the probiotic bacteria that modulate the gut-joint axis, alongside high-quality protein and calcium that support both cartilage health and the bone density that underlies it. For seniors, the gut microbiome's influence on systemic inflammation, and therefore on joint health, is an increasingly validated dimension of arthritis prevention. A diverse, but irrate-producing gut microbiome creates the regulatory immune environment that keeps the synovial inflammation of early osteoarthritis from escalating into destructive joint disease. Plain Greek yogurt, with documented live cultures, consumed with the dark berries that act as prebiotic substrate, provides the microbiome support that multiplies the anti-inflammatory effect of every other food in the morning protocol. The calcium content of Greek yogurt additionally supports bone density in the subchondral bone, the bone immediately beneath the cartilage surface, whose health is intimately linked to cartilage integrity. Research has consistently found that subchondral bone deterioration is an early event in osteoarthritis progression, and that maintaining subchondral bone health through adequate calcium and vitamin D nutrition, is a genuine component of arthritis prevention strategy in older adults. The sixth morning food is walnuts, a small handful consumed with breakfast whose unique combination of ALA omega-3 fatty acids, polyphenols, and melatonin makes them one of the most comprehensively joint protective whole foods available. We discussed the WAHA trial in our Biblical Foods video. The finding that 2 years of daily walnut consumption significantly reduced inflammatory biomarkers in older adults. In the context of leg arthritis prevention for seniors, walnuts contribute both the anti-inflammatory ALA that complements EPA and DHA from fatty fish, and the polyphenol L-argitannins that produce urolithins, the gut-derived compounds shown to reduce inflammatory signaling in connective tissue cells. The seventh morning element is warm water with lemon juice consumed first thing in the morning before any other food as a joint hydration and anti-inflammatory practice. Cartilage has no blood supply and depends on the movement of fluid through the joint for its nutrition. Beginning the day with adequate hydration ensures that the cartilage of the leg joints begins the day's activity in the best possible hydration state. The lemon juice adds vitamin C, a required cofactor for collagen synthesis, without which the body cannot produce collagen regardless of how many protein substrates are available in a convenient, accessible morning form. A glass of warm water with the juice of half a lemon, consumed on waking before food or coffee, provides vitamin C for collagen production, initiates morning hydration, and supports the alkaline environment associated with lower systemic inflammatory markers. There is an eighth morning element that deserves specific inclusion, and it is the one that connects directly to our arthritis bedtime protocol. Turmeric, the golden spice whose curcumin content is one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory compounds for joint health, does not have to be reserved exclusively for the before-bed golden milk. A morning turmeric drink: warm water or warm plant milk with a teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper for 2000% increased curcumin bioavailability, and a small amount of coconut oil consumed alongside breakfast provides an additional daily dose of curcumin that extends the anti-inflammatory coverage to the morning hours when the leg joints are transitioning from overnight rest to active load-bearing. Green tea consumed with breakfast or as a mid-morning drink is a natural complement that many seniors already include in their morning routine without realizing the specific joint protective contribution it provides. The EGCG epigallocitocin gallate in green tea has been shown to inhibit the matrix metalloproteinases, the cartilage-degrading enzymes that are upregulated by inflammatory cytokines in arthritic joints. A study published in the journal Arthritis Research and Therapy found that EGCG supplementation significantly reduced cartilage degradation markers in patients with early osteoarthritis, supporting green tea as a regular component of the joint protection morning routine for seniors. The morning protocol works most powerfully when combined with the specific pattern of morning physical activity that research has identified as most beneficial for leg joint health in seniors. The quadriceps muscles of the thigh absorb a significant proportion of the mechanical forces that would otherwise be transmitted directly to the knee cartilage. Research has consistently documented that quadriceps weakness is one of the strongest predictors of knee osteoarthritis progression, and that strengthening the quadriceps through regular resistance exercise significantly slows cartilage loss. For seniors, eating the protein-rich morning breakfast we have described: eggs, Greek yogurt, and fatty fish providing the amino acid substrates for muscle protein synthesis, and then engaging in gentle morning movement, creates the anabolic environment in which both muscle and cartilage receive the nutritional support they need. A 20-30-minute morning walk combined with 5 minutes of gentle quadriceps strengthening exercises, seated leg extensions, standing wall squats, gentle step-ups, creates the muscle activation and joint fluid circulation that the morning meal's nutrients can then support. Understanding what to eat every morning for natural leg arthritis prevention is complemented by understanding what to avoid. Refined sugar and high glycemic carbohydrates, white bread, sweetened cereals, pastries, fruit juice, flavored yogurts with added sugar produce the post-breakfast glucose spike that promotes the formation of advanced glycation end products that stiffen cartilage collagen. For seniors specifically, the morning glucose spike is typically larger and more sustained than in younger adults, making high glycemic morning foods particularly damaging to leg joint health. Ultra-processed breakfast foods, packaged cereals, flavored instant oatmeal packets, commercial breakfast bars contain the refined oils, artificial additives, and hidden sugars that promote the systemic inflammation driving osteoarthritis progression in leg joints. Omega-6 rich vegetable oils shift the omega-3 to omega-6 balance away from the anti-inflammatory EPA and DHA that protect synovial tissue, and toward the arachidonic acid that is the precursor to the most damaging pro-inflammatory prostaglandins in arthritic lead joints. The morning plate of a senior actively protecting their lead joint health looks like this: warm water with lemon on waking, then a morning turmeric drink, then a breakfast of eggs, oatmeal topped with dark mixed berries and ground flaxseed, plain Greek yogurt and walnuts. 2-3 mornings per week, fatty fish replaces or supplements the eggs. Green tea with or after breakfast. This is the plate that the research builds the most evidence-supported combination of cartilage-building protein, anti-inflammatory polyphenols, gut microbiome support, blood glucose stabilization, and joint hydration that can be assembled in a single morning meal. The biology of why seniors are specifically more vulnerable to lead joint arthritis than younger adults deserves a clear explanation, because understanding the specific mechanisms of age-related joint vulnerability helps make sense of why the morning foods we have described are so specifically targeted at the seniors who need them most. As we age, the chondrocytes, the cartilage maintenance cells we discussed earlier, become less responsive to the anabolic growth factors that signal them to produce new collagen and proteoglycans. They produce less of the extracellular matrix that makes up cartilage and more of the inflammatory mediators that degrade it. This age-related shift in chondrocyte behavior from anabolic to catabolic is one of the primary biological mechanisms through which osteoarthritis is a disease of aging rather than simply a disease of mechanical wear. Simultaneously, the concentration of hyaluronic acid in the synovial fluid, the large polysaccharide molecule that gives synovial fluid its viscous, lubricating properties, decreases with age, reducing the shock-absorbing and lubricating capacity of the joint fluid. This age-related reduction in synovial fluid quality means that the cartilage of older adults is exposed to more friction and more impact stress per unit of activity than the cartilage of younger adults, accelerating the wear that the already less anabolic chondrocytes are less capable of repairing. The inflammatory background knows the low-grade systemic inflammation that we have discussed throughout this channel as inflammaging rises with age, creating a chronically elevated pro-inflammatory cytokine environment that continuously activates the cartilage-degrading pathways in knee and hip joints. This is why the morning foods in this protocol are not simply nutritional support, they are a daily counter-signal to the inflammaging process that, left unchecked by dietary intervention, represents the most modifiable driver of lead joint degeneration in seniors. The proteoglycan agrecan, the second major component of cartilage matrix alongside collagen, deserves specific mention because its degradation is one of the earliest detectable events in osteoarthritis, preceding cartilage loss by years in some cases, and because its regeneration is directly dependent on the sulfur-containing amino acids that a protein-adequate diet provides. Agrecan gives cartilage its water-retaining properties. The water bound within the proteoglycan matrix is what gives cartilage its ability to absorb compressive loads without deforming. As agrecan is progressively degraded by the inflammatory enzyme ADAMTS5, which is upregulated by the same pro-inflammatory cytokines that the morning anti-inflammatory protocol addresses, cartilage loses its compressive resilience and becomes progressively more vulnerable to mechanical damage. This is why the combination of protein-rich foods for amino acid substrate, anti-inflammatory polyphenols to suppress the cytokines that activate cartilage-degrading enzymes, and omega-3 fatty acids to shift the prostaglandin balance toward resolution rather than perpetuation of inflammation, addresses the actual biological mechanisms of cartilage degeneration rather than simply producing a general health benefit. Beyond the 7 morning foods we have described, there are 3 additional nutritional strategies that specifically address the aging-specific mechanisms of lead joint vulnerability in seniors. Vitamin D supplementation at doses of 1,000 to 2,000 international units daily for most seniors addresses the near-universal vitamin D deficiency in older adults that impairs both the immune regulation of joint inflammation and the bone mineral density of the subchondral bone that underlies the cartilage. Multiple studies have documented associations between low vitamin D levels and accelerated knee osteoarthritis progression, and while the intervention trials have produced mixed results, the weight of evidence supports maintaining adequate vitamin D levels as a component of a comprehensive lead joint protection strategy. Glucosamine and chondroitin sulfate, the building block supplements derived from shellfish and bovine cartilage respectively, have been the most extensively studied dietary supplements for osteoarthritis prevention and management, with decades of controlled trials producing results that range from significantly positive to neutral depending on the severity of the arthritis at baseline and the specific formulation used. A subset of patients in the GATE trial, the large National Institutes of Health trial of glucosamine, and chondroitin for knee osteoarthritis showed significant pain reduction with the combination, particularly those with moderate to severe baseline pain, supporting its use as a targeted supplemental strategy for seniors with established knee osteoarthritis rather than as a universal prevention supplement. The circadian timing of the morning anti-inflammatory protocol we have described connects to one more important biological principle: the circadian rhythm of inflammation in arthritis. Research has consistently documented that inflammatory markers and joint symptoms in arthritis follow a circadian pattern, typically peaking in the early morning hours, which is why morning stiffness is a defining feature of inflammatory joint disease. The morning biological window is simultaneously the period of highest inflammatory activity in arthritic joints and the period when the anti-inflammatory inputs of the morning meal can most directly counter that inflammatory peak. Eating the anti-inflammatory breakfast we have described in the first hour of waking, when the morning inflammatory tide is highest, positions these protective compounds at the time of maximum relevance to the joint tissue they are protecting. This timing advantage, eating anti-inflammatory foods at the moment when joint inflammation is at its daily peak, is one of the reasons that the morning meal is the single most important eating occasion for seniors specifically focused on leg arthritis prevention. It is not simply the first meal of the day. It is the strategically timed nutritional counter-signal to the circadian inflammatory pattern that, left uncountered, contributes most significantly to the progressive joint damage of osteoarthritis. The legs that have carried you through everything, every walk, every hike, every dance, every ordinary Tuesday, and every extraordinary moment deserve to be protected deliberately with the specific, evidence-based morning nutrition that keeps their joints as healthy as possible for as many years as possible. Arthritis in the legs is not inevitable for seniors. The food choices you make every morning are a vote for or against the inflammatory state that drives it, for or against the nutritional adequacy that cartilage depends on, for or against the joint health that determines how freely and how comfortably you move through the years ahead. Vote wisely, starting tomorrow morning. If this video gave you a specific, actionable morning protocol for naturally preventing arthritis in your legs as a senior, please support this channel right now. Hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already, and share this video with a senior you care about, because this information is most valuable when it reaches the people who need it most. Leave a comment below telling us which of these morning foods you are going to add first. We read every comment, and your commitment to your joint health inspires this entire community. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.